Well, welcome everyone. It's good to have you. Jeff Eswine, glad you're here. Marty, good friend of ours. Thanks for joining in. People from Onslow Fitness, great to have you guys. Appreciate you joining us. Nice to have you. I think I saw Meredith on here and Julie Moore down in Roanoke, Virginia. Works for a good friend of Tim and I, Bud Gray. And I saw Greg from Wellbridge. Good to have you folks. Thanks for being here. And I'd like to just say Happy New Year to everyone. I know it's been a tough year, and here's wishing you all and yours an abundance of blessings this year and well beyond. Today we have Tim Sebold, who is the CEO and founder of soolisAI.com. We also have David Steele, who's the CEO from Sneeze.It, and Bart Budyn, who's the sales and marketing manager from Intouch. So we've got expert panelists here, witnesses, maybe is another way to say it. So thank you guys for being here. And before we get started, I want to paint a picture, sort of couch the conversation before we get into the presentation portion, and then we're going to go into some questions and answers. The technology sale, blending touches with technology. Think about this for a moment. The former sales playbook in our industry was all about phone calls and in-person relationships. While no one can argue about the continued need for personal relationships and engagement, it is clear we all must reconcile with ourselves how the technology sale fits into the new playbook. Consider we are at a place in time when touchless entry is required, distance from engaging on the fitness floor is mandated, and perhaps virtual tours on our website is taken by a GoPro video and appears on the club's webpage with a link to the YouTube channel. The video guides the prospect on a self-guided tour on Sunday morning while they're in their PJs drinking coffee. After having been retargeted by, say, a company like Sneeze.It numerous times, and then joining and paying through iCart the first month's dues on Venmo or Zelle without having ever visited the club or having met anyone. Then they receive a text message from maybe, say, Soolis or Intouch to confirm their first PT orientation session. Then after joining, a voice bot assistant will provide information by Soolis about a cycle class time and reservation options in the car while the kids are being picked up from soccer practice. It is not quite back to the future yet. So how do we balance and blend what is in our DNA, that personal, in-touch, high-touch relationships with people and technology that we know is going to be here to stay? So what are the best practices in such balancing? I've got some really good experts in their field, and let's dive right in and really see what our tech stack solution experts have to say. And to kick us off, I'm going to kick us off with a good friend of mine, David Steele from Sneeze.It. Okay.
So, hey, hi, everybody. My name is David Steele. I'm CEO of Sneeze.It, and thank you, Frank, for having us participate. A few years ago, we changed from what we think of as lead generation and marketing for the fitness industry to revenue generation. And kind of the difference in that is that as we started, growing as a company, we realized leads are great, and everybody wants leads, but at the end of the day, numbers are what pays the bill. So we've changed our direction a lot to make sure that when we bring in a lead, we bring them all the way, what we say, to the cash register, not just through your front door. And so our systems change. And so a little bit about what we do. Let's go to the next slide if you can. Sneeze.It does, for most of our customers, hold on one second. I'm just going to make sure you guys catch up to the next slide. There we go. Ads, paid social, paid search, display, and those ads go to a destination website, join online like or iCart, we call it, landing pages, and then we send out communication, emails, text, first touch, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and then we retarget the heck out of them until what we say is buy or die, right? You're either going to buy from us or you're going to go away another time and come back. And so let's just go to the next slide if we can. And so What we've kind of changed and what we had to look at is how do we bring all of this stuff together, right? How do we bring the data together? And so the dashboard for us kind of links all cost per lead, cost per join, number of members online, how they add it to cart, and those great things. But our goal is to increase the return on ad spend. And with that, we invested a lot of money into artificial intelligence, into a product we fondly refer to as Wanda. And she's actually artificial intelligence that can actually see images and videos and actually look at what's going on in different ads and compare them and reduce the cost of ad spend significantly, and the cost per result increases that about 20+%. Let's go to the next slide if we can. So what Wanda does is Wanda looks at 2,500 creative touch points on over $1 billion worth of ad spend. So everything from how many characters to put in the subject line, to if I should use emojis, to what images work, what colors of the ads, color palette, how long of a video, if it's a video or a GIF, number of faces, everything that you can possibly imagine. And there's so much data there. And so what happens is it's not just the gym industry that we're looking at, but we're looking at everything from yoga clothing manufacturers to car companies. And we're looking at consumer behavior across multiple industries and taking those insights and bringing them to the fitness world as well to optimize the ads that are created, how they're created, and what audience to look at, and how to micro target the right individual at the right time to get the right results. In essence, what Wanda does is looks at the last 4 days worth of results compared to the last 7 days of results and tries to beat that. And it'll beat that by combining ads or looking at new types of ads and telling our creative team the direction we should go in, ultimately getting you better results. Next slide again. So now that we get the better result, the question is, well, what happens? And in today's day and age, I mean, at the end of the day, clubs are forced to do more with less, right? Our salespeople have to do more with less, and all of our teammates have to do that. So an ad comes in, and just for imagine, think about it this way. An automated system will actually send a voicemail with the voice of the person that would normally talk to that prospect within 5 minutes. And the phone won't even ring, but it'll be right to their voicemail and say something like, "Hi, this is David over at ABC Club. I noticed you were trying to get a free pass. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you need and what to expect when you come into the club. Please call me back at this number." And then within about a few minutes later, a text comes out that says, "Hey, by the way, I just left you a voicemail. This is David over at ABC Club. If you're interested, please give me a call back at this number, or click here, you can join online." And then we send that data right to the CRM application like Intouch, and then they take it from there. But the first touch that happens almost immediately comes from us without a human intervention anywhere in the process. To give you an idea of the extent of what this looks like, we have the ability to send out 10,000 calls in an hour, right? Where an average salesperson would do about 20. So imagine the magnitude. We had a club the other day that wanted to do a "We Want You Back" campaign. The manager of the club said he had to pick up the phone so many times from people calling in that he thought he was going to break the phone. He thought the phone was going to fall apart. It was the most incoming calls the club ever received. Another club wanted to do was a pre-sale. Their goal was 250 memberships in the pre-sale. They collected a whole bunch of leads in 90 days and was ready to start selling memberships, and they made their pre-sale goal in 1 day. Those are the type of results that we have because the actual connection and deliverability of a ringless voicemail first touch is 85% versus just regular email would be 24%.
Wow.
So anyway, let's go to the next slide and kind of continue down through this process a little bit. So Wanda helps us create better creative, right? And so this is just some examples of some of the ads that were created, and better creative does get better results. And we're known in the industry as having the best creative. And not only is our creative used in just the ads that we create, because that's important, but we have continuity. And if you go to the next slide, into the emails that are sent out of your CRM systems will look just as good, and those get the same type of results. So imagine you have best of breed voicemail coming out, texting coming out. You have phenomenal ads that are delivering leads to your club, and you're closing them also with some emails as well. You're firing all cylinders, and that's what we really look at when we talk about our clubs, is getting better results to get people to join. So the next part is like, what do you do? Like what do you send them? And traditionally we just send them to a regular join online page, but we create this iCart, which is a little bit more sophisticated. It captures information before somebody actually even joins, right? So we'll get them to give us their name and email address, and we'll pass it into Intouch right away before they even start to, before they even select, their credit card information, just in case they bail out, so we can reach back out to them in a way that in abandoned cart sequences that we'll talk about a little later. If we click it again, it's different pricing can be done for different clubs. Just want to forward the slides one more time. Okay, you can do different pricing, different clubs, different amenities, different clubs, and then you can even go to the next slide. Have different look and feel for mobile as you do for the club itself, and this fully integrates. And we're so excited with the partnership with Soolis on having chatbot right on this, so they can answer questions right online to help conversions. Now, our typical conversions for our clubs are 20+% using this of their total memberships. And we have clubs now reaching the 30 and 40% plateau. We know that join online is going to be the next, it's not only big right now, but it's going to be the way that people join across the board. They just don't want to, they want transparency, right? They want to know what they're going to pay, how they're going to pay it. They want to know what they're going to get for the money. And this is what First Touch gets to do. And if somebody drops out of the cart within an hour, they'll get a voice, they'll get within about 5 minutes, they'll get a call, they'll get a text, they can get an email within an hour. We have a whole abandoned cart sequence to help convert them as well. Next slide. And so that's Sneeze in a nutshell. We have so many more services, but I don't want to obviously inundate everybody with what we do. But at the end of the day, it's all about revenue, and we're the company that generates that for you. So thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, David, that's a pretty profound number about the voice drops, and it's significant. And I know we probably have all been, I don't want to say victims of it, but it's an opportunity to get the volume out, because especially if you're able to make it a real person, and we'll have a chance at the end for some questions and answers. So thank you for that. I'm going to turn it over to our next expert in soolisAI, and it's all about artificial intelligence. And I want to tell you what prompted me to want to talk to Tim about this type of program. We had an example in my previous life at American Family Fitness, whereby a member actually called the club, and this is as we reopened, and it's incoming with phone calls. He was on hold for an hour. She left her house. She held up her phone. She came to our front desk and said, "You see, I'm on hold for an hour," just to get a simple answer about a freeze or cancellation. I know Tim's going to talk about that in a little bit, that you think is a trend heading in our direction.
So it's something we're actually pioneering in the marketplace, because it's actually, it's all integrated into our APIs that we're using. So for example, when somebody goes and fills out an online form, they're getting a call just like a salesperson would have called them. Yeah. And what's happening is that, we know from our experience, I'm sure everybody in the call can attest to this, is that they're usually going to get a voicemail when they call somebody. And so if we know that 60 to 70% of all calls are going to be on voicemail, let's just assume that all calls are on voicemail and go in that direction. Once we started doing that, I can tell you every club that we work with, that we implement these systems with, even for collections, they're amazed. And we had one club owner, and we told him not to do it. And he said, "Well, just have it go to my cell phone." He said his cell phone rang nonstop all day long. He sent like 3,000 voice drops to prospects. His phone rang, he couldn't answer them fast enough. Yeah. And so we understand that this technology is it's not new, but in the way that we're using it's a little different. But we're able to throttle it in a way that allows people to, from a club perspective, to be able to handle it, and from a result perspective of actually getting people to take action. Yeah,
I gotta believe that the volume of calls you can get out when you don't have to worry about somebody kind of hanging up on you that quick would be pretty powerful, as long as the messaging is done professionally and done well.
Yep, and we do that too. We actually have voice artists that will do it for you, plus people at the club do it. It's all different depending, but we do for up to 10,000 in an hour. So if you think about what a salesperson can do, right? A salesperson can do maybe 20 phone calls in an hour. Yeah, we can do 10,000.
That's certainly something to keep in mind for the audience, and as you think about moving forward in your own business. And by the way, I meant to tell you guys, we'll have some opportunity at the end for some questions. So if you want to drop it in the chat, I'll make sure I navigate when we get done with our 3 experts. So thank you for that, David. We're going to come back to you with some Q&A in a little bit. I'm going to flip it over to a longtime friend and colleague of mine, Tim Sebold. And Tim has an interesting concept that is certainly something that has really been around for a lot longer than we may realize. And I like to tell the story that on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock, when there's no governmental organization open, I was able to register a vehicle and pay my property tax and get my sticker without ever having to get out from underneath my desk and be able to register my vehicle. And that's what kind of got me excited. And then I learned about what Tim is doing. So Tim, I'm gonna let your machine do the talking. So I'm gonna ask you, tell me about Soolis, and then I'm gonna let you guys watch.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. As you guys can see in the background, it's a quick GIF on just getting any type of information. Right now, people want information when they want it. They want instant information. So Soolis, back up real quick, Soolis was formed back in 2009. About 3 years ago, we took a look at, after I bought my first Google Assistant, we were looking at how it's going to change the way business is done. And, you know, the first person we were researching it, they said, oh, start doing podcasts and you can start advertising on there and you'll make a lot of money. Well, quite honestly, we didn't think that was the way to go. You know, no one's going to want to just sit at home and just get information from podcasts. So we continually did research and research. So for the past 3+ years, we've been researching chat and voice automation. Next slide, please, Frank.
Sure.
And so what we're going to discuss today is what are the chatbots, the statistics, and why we pivoted to focus on chatbots, growth of chatbots, what and why. Move my screen real quick. What and why companies use chatbots and voice. The important thing is reporting, understanding that data, and then we'll do a quick demo.
Can you see your screen, Tim?
I can. Just the pictures were over it real quick. So, okay. All right. So what are chatbots? The theory and development of computer systems' ability to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation. Okay. Next slide, please. All right, so again, these stats is really why we changed and thought, you know, took a look at chat. First one, Frank. So by 2022, they're talking about an estimate of $8 billion for companies to save money using chat and conversations. All right, next one. Gartner, which is a very well-known research company, they predict by 2022, 70% of customer interaction will involve chat or learning machine application. That's up from 15% in 2018. Next. This one's pretty big. Voice commerce in 2017 was 1.8 billion. They're estimating $40 billion of voice commerce in 2022. Next. This one's surprising. Nearly 50% of people use voice searches to research products. So if that is the case, what does your website look like? And then the last one here, there's an estimated 21.4 million smart speakers in the US. that again supports all the documentation of how important chats are going to be and voice automation in the future operating your businesses. So next slide, please. So I've been in the industry 30 plus years. I saw websites start. So when you take a look at the website growth back in 1999, there was roughly 3.1 million websites. And in 2 years, it exploded up to 29. When you look at chats right now, like Frank said, they've been around for a little while, pretty much starting in 2017. But right now at 2020, we're at 27 or 2.7 million, projected over 24 million chats. Frank, next slide, please. All right, so why chatbots? Chatbots will measure all your documents, all the information that you're looking for. We talk inside the company, perception is not reality. Data is reality. So when we take a look at the data, HubSpot did a nice study when we talk about Facebook marketing. The study was chatbots versus form fills. And they saw a 31% decrease in cost of acquisition with a 40% increase in conversation, just in utilizing the chat, putting a chat on your landing page versus a form fill. They said that utilizing a form fill, people feel like they're being asked all these questions at one time. And the thing to look at is obviously the abandon rate on the form fill. All right, next slide, or next, Frank. Conversational analysis. It's not the loud member that has the pulse of the whole entire organization. It's all the other members. So when you look at the conversations and are able to analyze all the different conversations, that's going to tell you the pulse of your membership and the pulse of your guests. Again, not the loud individuals. Next one, Frank. Engagement and retention. Again, you'll have all this analytics. For everyone who uses Google Analytics, very similar. Every single thing that you want to look at, you can look at. How many times they engage with your chat, users, how many sessions. Some may use it all the time. Others maybe just for that quick question and answer. Behavior. Top exits, what's the #1 intent? Are they always asking about classes, specials? Right now, COVID, safety issues, you'll be able to track all that information. Audience demographics. Really not much more to say about that. And then compare your matrix. You'll be able to do all that. All right, so how can chat help you operate more efficiently? First thing is it's 100% customizable to your business. All your different software programs, we integrate into Intouch, HubSpot, so forth. Conversions, like David said, we work with them to help conversions on those join pages. There's options on those pages. You don't want them to leave the pages. You want them to be able to ask a question and make a decision right there and then. And then language barriers. For everyone who has different languages inside the club, there isn't a language barrier with chat. You program it, ask in Spanish, it'll answer in Spanish, so forth. 24/7 customer service. Right now, people are making a lot of decisions, COVID issues. Do I have to wear a mask? Do I have to make reservations? They're calling the clubs, they're sending emails, so forth. I want to cancel. If you can answer those questions immediately for them, it will change your business. Especially this third one. Why are you billing me when you're closed? We program those answers and diffuse the situation. And then the personal experience. Every single thing right now is about the experience. I want to do something when I want to do it. I want the information where I am. Not wait for an email, not wait for a phone call. I want to change my account information. I may want to do that 10 o'clock at night as I'm watching TV. You can do it. Schedule a personal trainer. Sitting there at lunch, I forgot to schedule my training. I schedule it. And then we've got a quick demo at the end. So, and here it is. Hey, do you want to spin tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, Google, talk to One Life Fitness.
All right, let's get the test version of One Life Fitness.
Welcome to One Life Fitness. How can I help you?
What time is spin?
Which day?
Tomorrow.
At which club?
Alexandria.
(6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.)
Wow, that's great.
Does that work?
Sure.
Okay. That's pretty convenient.
That was great.
Okay. That was our quick example of voice automation. Before the COVID situation, the #1 exit page on most websites, if you had if you offered classes, was the schedule. So now you're putting it in the palm of their hand to find it any single time they want, wherever they want.
That's good stuff, Tim. And I know that you understand, despite the fact that you're in the AI world now, that we're not trying to replace people. There still is that sort of touch that needs to be happening, but there's such an easier, more efficient, cost-effective way to go, and this could be an answer for people. Before we go into the question and answer portion, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Bart. And speaking of touches and Intouch specifically, this is what Bart is going to talk about, and as it relates to all of what we need to do from a sales perspective.
So for the sake of time, I'm not going to dive too much into the presentation, into the bio, sorry. But essentially, I'm responsible for all the sales and marketing efforts, strategies, and forecasting at Intouch. I have about 10 years of sales and marketing experience. And I've been involved in the fitness industry for about 15 years. A big part of that was operating a boutique fitness studio in Ontario in Canada with a partner of mine who, when I moved back to Vancouver, I kind of sold my portion to him, and he's doing very well with it there. So that's just a quick bio about myself. Currently with Intouch, I've been with Intouch for about 5 years. We are a sales and retention software for health and fitness clubs, and that's specifically exactly what we do. We don't work in other verticals, but there's a lot of opportunities that are presenting themselves for physio clinics and things like that that we're looking at. You know, with the pandemic and COVID-19, those businesses are also in a difficult position and need to do a lot of virtual physio sessions and things like that. I know my sister, who works in a small physio studio in Toronto, she does a lot of those virtually, and we've been talking quite a bit to see how there's opportunity for us to help her with some of her clients. So the current situation that we're in, you know, it's a very challenging one for a number of reasons. One, obviously, with capacity restrictions and different mandates for health clubs and different facilities, you know, people are obviously not going into the clubs as much. So we need to look at different ways to accommodate the people that still want to be active and still want to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And so, you know, the questions that club operators and owners need to be asking themselves is changing from, do I simply need technology, to how do I combine this technology, my team and my staff, to create the best possible experience for both prospects and members. This is the new standard now. Going through some new member acquisition facts. And, you know, David talked a lot about the lead generation and conversion component of it. Same with Tim. This is still one of the biggest challenges in health and fitness clubs today, and more so now with COVID, because obviously there's restrictions and going into the clubs and staff availability and things like that. So your online presence is even more so important. We see that 91% of businesses with 4 or more employees are using some kind of a CRM software. And that, whether that's to schedule call reminders, that's used to send out text messages and emails. And a lot of that is automated to reduce the impact on the staff, but also to increase the touch points. So 78% of customers buy from the company that reaches out to their inquiry first. So with Tim, with chatbots, there's really quick inquiries that can be made, and you can give those individuals quick answers to some of the questions. Once they get into that sales journey with your health club or your facility, it's imperative that they're also getting quick real-time responses, whether it's a personalized text message that comes out of the CRM or one of your staff quickly responds. Those are key components to making sure that you hold on to that prospect and help them work through their sales journey. We also see that 80% of sales are made during the 5th to the 12th contact. So that means that 20% of sales conversion occur in the 1st through 4th contacts. So again, having something that's automated, that's going to not only initiate real-time contact and real-time answers to your prospects or members is important, but also increasing those touch points. This slide I really like. It's a poster from a Terminator 2. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger there, and then half of the Terminator. And there's a really interesting quote that I put in there. AI will not displace humans. It's going to enhance us. And that's from Ray Kurzweil. And Ray Kurzweil is actually an American inventor and futurist. He's written many books on AI and given many TED Talks on AI as well, and its impact on the human species. And I really like this because it's something that resonates very well, especially in our industry today, is that we need to embrace tech. Because it's here to enhance every facet of our lives, from booking spin classes while you're on your way to, pick up your kids at soccer practice, to answering an inquiry about your account, or clicking on an ad and getting right to a Join Me Now page where you can join and buy a membership from your couch at 10 p.m. at night. But I think furthermore, the biggest thing that technology is doing in today's environment is creating a fitness community. And I think that's where we need to start looking. This tech stack is just a simple example of what clubs are doing today to embrace technology. So if we kind of go through it, you have your Facebook and Instagram ads that are done through Sneeze.It and other marketing partners. We have mobile and desktop landing pages that can contain chatbots and again get those quick inquiry forms. It goes and feeds into an opt-in form or again an AI chatbot. We get a confirmation page, and instantaneously that prospect is added into a CRM where we can send out an instant lead notification to your staff that, hey, there's a new lead in there. Connect with them, talk to them, send them an email, maybe give them a call. We can automate and schedule call reminders so that staff don't forget. If they can't get to that lead right away, there's a call reminder that gets generated in their agenda. We can automate and send emails and text messages to those individuals through their sales journey as well. And then once that person becomes a new member, we obviously provide new member engagement. So, onboarding emails, text messages, call reminders, so that we can automate the retention component as well. Because though we're focusing, technology a lot on the acquisition of members and the tech sale, we can't forget that the retention in this time is also needed, because ultimately, if you spend all these dollars generating leads, getting those leads to buy a membership, and then you kind of drop everything off, all that work kind of goes to nothing. So a few key takeaways that I'd like to talk about is, number one, the role of technology should be to gather and procure information to help grow relationships. So we're very much a people's business, and I think we're always going to. Technology is going to be there to enhance all those facets of the business, but I think ultimately it comes down to the individual themselves, the staff, that's going to help grow that relationship. So I think clubs need to be asking themselves, how many of your staff and your teams have easy access to information about their prospects and members so that they can build those relationships? Number two, technology should be leveraged to provide important, timely information. So we want to make sure that technology is there to drive a more effective and personalized one-to-one experience for those prospects and members. And personalized is a key word here, because ultimately, if everyone's doing the same thing, you know, it kind of, your message might get lost in the noise. But if you personalize that approach, you personalize the content, you're going to get much better results. Number three, try to automate a variety of follow-up tasks. And, you know, this isn't, it just includes emails and text messages, but there's a lot of other things you can automate that are not part of your CRM, you know, chatbots. Tim went into depth about that. There's automation in what David's Sneeze.It is doing. So, you know, automation is key. And to be able to do, I think, David, you said 1,000 or 10,000 calls. That's insane, and everyone should be taking advantage of that, because it's a numbers game at the end of the day, and you have to look at that. Number four, today's landscape requires technology to maintain the future of a club's community and culture. So you have to be open to new ways to attract more members and retain more attract new prospects and retain more members. So whether it's virtual training, whether it's classes, whether it's online portals or discussions or forums or Zoom meetings like this, those things have to be in place. And I think this is a big piece of the times that we're in today, is people are lonely. They can't go to the gym. They need to be able to have some kind of a release for their fitness and their health. And this is what's going to create that community, and it's going to build the culture, is getting these people involved in what you're doing and having them be able to do that in an online setting.
Well, that's good stuff. Thanks so much, Bart. And as I turn it over to some of these questions that we've prepared, you guys are invited to throw in any questions in the chat if you wish. But it strikes me that as I listen to the three of you, that club operators have clearly had to cut expenses from a labor standpoint, meaning that there's a lot more to do with less people. So this sort of technology sale approach and engagement really is an opportunity for people to still do the same things, even though the person may not be there. So I'd like to kind of turn it over to David, and I know you're in touch with a lot of clubs, David, and I'm curious about a best practice that you've experienced in an example with a club. You don't have to necessarily name the club, but something that they've done from a tech standpoint, whether it be with your company or others.
So thanks, Frank. And by the way, Frank, maybe we should, after this presentation, we can call you Coach AI. And,
I like that. That's very good. Nice touch.
So you know, I want to tackle this in two directions. First off, is most of the vendors that you're using, whether it be ABC, Jonas, MotionSoft, they've learned a long time ago that the power is in call centers and using, kind of efficiency that you would normally not get when you have a product in multiple gyms. So what we're finding is that gyms are starting to ask themselves the same question. Why do they have a salesperson at every location, or 3 or 4? And so by starting with that question, instead of having like 1 or 2 really good sales people that handle a region or all the clubs, in a call center environment, the next question comes in, well, in order to do that, who's going to give a tour? And I think for that, we're starting to look at the way that airlines have changed their model, right? And if you look at what airlines have done, is no longer, I mean, I shouldn't say all of them. I mean, United still does it the same old way. But if you look at like, JetBlue or Southwest, the person that is bringing you your snack, if they still offer a snack on the plane, or helping you to your seat, is the same person that's cleaning the plane when you come off, to the person that's running the gate when you come on. They're taking everybody into the process to cut costs. And so we're finding clubs that are doing the same thing, which is they're paying a little bit more maybe for their front desk help, right? They're paying a little bit more maybe for the people cleaning the club, but those people could give a tour. They can show people around, they can talk to people, they can give insight into the club. They're not just swiping a key tag and kind of going back to their phone and being disengaged for the rest of the day. So if I was to walk away with anything, right, or technology-wise, It's utilizing technology to reduce costs, but also looking at your entire process, whether it be how your salespeople handle automation in like a product like Intouch or your chatbots, whatever it is. The people component becomes expensive once you start realizing what you can do and how to get the best of breed in each of the categories in your business, so you don't have to pay for the same thing over and over again, especially at multiple clubs. That's
and that's a great comparison to the airline industry, and it's nice to hear that. At the same time, we know that a lot of people are still out of jobs in the industry, and as we slowly come back, before we start adding in the payroll, there is more efficiencies potentially in this technology that we're doing. And Tim, I got a question in here for you from Adam, my buddy up in New England. He said, what is a realistic time frame to integrate an effective chatbot, and how involved is that process? If you could briefly give him a quick update.
One, thanks for that question. You're going to look for about 2 to 3 weeks integration time to get it up before you start testing it and so forth. The process is fairly simple, and the misconception is that it takes a tremendous amount of time and effort from the club, but it doesn't. It starts off as analyzing your website, answering the questions that are readily available on your website, taking a look at integrations, taking a look at different systems that you're using, and then additional services that you may want to highlight. And if you're using Sneeze.It, we program accordingly for membership information, so forth. So it's not very cumbersome on the club. Once we do all the programming, we would create a demo, and then you would go and test, and we'd monitor the testing and so forth. And then once you approve it, it goes live. So it's pretty easy from the club standpoint.
And Tim, I think I've heard you talk about this before, is that it might seem like there's a lot of time involved, but really after it gets up and running and you do the heavy lifting for the client, it then gets to a place where the chat starts to learn as every time it answers. So within a month, you could be up and running, Adam, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's good. Bart, I'm going to flip this one over to you. And I know you've been out and about talking, not necessarily out of your house, but in calls like this with clients around the country. What have you seen and observed that is really giving them some roadblocks that you help solve from a technology standpoint? There's been roadblocks that have happened for all of us, but what are you seeing that they're sharing with you that maybe some of the audience may have the similar problem?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is obviously with the lack of staff, and kind of going, to David's point about having someone that's able to be multifaceted and maybe wears more hats. We're seeing a big gap between the tech and then the people side. And so we actually, when COVID started, back in March of 2020, in the beginning of April, we launched a new service called Intouch Manage. And what that is it's a more of a consultative approach to helping clubs bridge the gap between the technology that they have and then the people that they are left with. So helping them to not only understand and how to navigate through the technologies, but also how to utilize the data you can squeeze out of there from reporting or from various other areas to be able to do their job more effectively and more efficiently. And we've been working with quite a bit of clubs now, and we're picking up as the weeks go on, new customers that are coming in to help them with that piece. And we're seeing very, very good successes. We had, some clubs in the last 90 days, we're adding over 120 new members in today's environment. And that's all done virtually through online. So, the clubs obviously have a tech stack that's more or less dialed in. We've helped them to dial that in a little bit more, working with Tim and working with Dave to put in the technology where it needs to be in order to make that happen. But we're seeing a lot of successes in with that new program.
Yeah, I want to kind of pivot a little bit and go back to David, because I don't know if everyone really understands the whole concept of the sort of delayed buying decision. So somebody goes in to purchase a membership online, and then they put it in their cart. And I think you referenced the percentages. You want to briefly talk, David, about the conversion of people who get there and how you can help that. And then Tim, I'm going to turn to you from a retention standpoint, and how do you handle freezes and cancellations with a chat?
So, and one thing to note also, Frank, is there's some clubs right now, even in COVID, that are growing and are adding more members than they did last January. So there is a kind of a resurgence in some of the markets that, and there might be some people on the call that maybe aren't experiencing some of the things in other places that are seeing a slowdown, right? So it's kind of, it's state by state really to see where things are going well. Like for example, California, memberships are off the charts, right?
Yeah.
And a place like Pennsylvania, maybe not so much. And so there's a difference in every country. But with that said is that, you know, people abandon a cart for so many different reasons, right? And here are some of the big ones, right? The first is the pricing doesn't make sense, right? They start looking at like zero enrollment, and then when they go to the cart, it says $75 due today, and they're like, there's a disconnect between what we're using as far as verbiage as an industry and what the consumer expects to pay when they go to do something, right? Mm-hmm. So usually that $75 maybe first month, last month, card fee, enhancement fee, and then there's an annual fee. And so a lot of people drop off because they just don't understand what the heck they're paying for, right? And so when you think about like online pricing, the first thing we do is if somebody drops off and we figure it's because of the fee structure, we have an hour to get them back, or within an hour. Anything after an hour, I think the numbers drop about 70% likelihood of getting them back. So best practices is within 1 hour, they've abandoned the cart, we've got to reach out to them, say, hey, you know, let me give you a call. And we'll do that through, like, for example, First Touch, we'll receive a phone call from a salesperson. Hey, I saw you trying to order online, you know, place a membership online, and I'm here to help you kind of walk you through. Yeah. So that's kind of the first. The second is within the first 24 hours after that one, is the next email, text, whatever you're going to do. And then I think after that, it's 72 hours. So that's kind of the time frame for the abandoned cart processes that we see work best across the board. But it's really the abandoned cart, if I could say one more thing, is it happens before you even get to that point. Really think about what you're selling and how you're selling it. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we're used to certain price, you know, everybody has to have a certain price point to operate their gym. And let's say it's $360 and you have, you know, a $40 enrollment fee and $99 to join. And the person looks at this like, I'm not paying, you know, $20 a month, I'm paying $30 a month. And that's something that Planet really got their arms around when they came to the market, was pricing transparency.
Excellent. Thanks for that, David. Tim, I wanted to ask you about something. Really, you touched on member engagement, particularly when the club is closed and somebody wants to cancel. They want to get an answer on the freeze. You said they want the answer when they want it, when they ask for it. And I think I had a conversation with you about a golf club. And one of the things that happened at this golf club, especially right now in North Carolina, is everybody's asking about, is the driving range open, and is it cart path only? And is the club even open because of weather? When in fact, a chat could easily answer that. And whether it be related to golf or to the club business, what have you seen that has resonated with club operators as it relates to the engagement piece that you think could help?
My communication, what we keep hearing is, you know, the members, whether specifically when the club is closed, is when are you going to reopen? They're sending emails, they're calling, and you really don't have the bandwidth to get back to these people in a timely manner. Yeah. And it's literally the opportunity to put a chat on the site and someone asks, do I have to wear a mask? Yes, you have to wear a mask once you walk into the facility and even while you work out. That takes 2 seconds, and now you help that individual out as opposed to sitting on hold or sending out an email. Same thing with cancellations and freezes. We program according to your policy so they get the quick and corporate answer, not a, hey, I left a message, you never got back to me, what's this guy said this guy said this.
Or the interpretation of a welcome desk person who may only work on a Friday night and they're answering questions that are way out of bounds. That's good.
Right.
Love
right.
it.
Yeah. So yeah, nice and concise.
No, thanks for that. I appreciate that. That I could see where that really can benefit operators. As we kind of close the webinar here, I'm going to let you each go with one more thing, and I'll start with Bart and then Tim and David to finish this out before I close this. But if there's one thing that you would say to the operators in the audience, Bart, that you've picked up on since COVID and the technology piece, what is the one thing you want to share with club operators that they should walk away with?
Sure. So I would probably say don't only focus on selling the membership or club access if you have your doors open, but sell the culture, sell the online community that you can provide to this individual. Now more than ever, people need this. And to use an example to kind of justify my answer, here in Vancouver alone, in the last few months, we've had so many pop-up fitness groups in the parks that started because people just want to get out. They want to be involved in a community, want to be involved in something with other people. And I think, you know, if you can offer that, that is very valuable for people today. So if you can somehow get that into your online join programs, in your marketing to convey that culture, that community, that is key. One last thing that I'll add is we actually had one of our longtime customers, they initially when COVID happened, started on online virtual membership. So they had the virtual classes, they had the virtual portals, but they offered online virtual membership, and they didn't just leave it for the people in the state or the city, but they opened it up to everyone. And they were really shocked at how many memberships they were getting from people outside of the city, outside of the state, into their club. So they were finding new ways of generating revenue, and it was, you know, that driven by that whole community culture feel. So that would be my nugget of information to pass on.
And that's a golden nugget. Thanks, Bart. Tim, I know you're around and talking to a lot of operators, a lot of different people we know, like One Life and others. What's the one last nugget you'd like to share with the audience?
I think it would be communication. You know, when we talk about business in general, communication is the key. Frank, you know me, I'm a man of few words, but communicating with your members during these challenging times, the freeze issues, the cancellations and so forth. I mean, the transparency of the old days of, hey, how much is it? Oh, well, have you seen the club? And trying to get them in without telling them, you know, where you were with pricing and so forth. All that has changed so much, but be open, transparent, and be able to communicate with them all the time.
Nice. At any time, whenever they want, 4 in the morning, 10 at night. Good job. Thanks, Tim. David, I'm going to let you have the last one nugget to share with the audience before I close this out.
That's not a lot of pressure, I can tell you that much. So, you know, I often talk about going places where your competition can't, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, if you're in a population that speaks Korean, or there's a heavy Korean population, you should have the ability to sell the memberships in Korean, right? You should be able to create ads in Korean. One of the things that I love about this iCart online ordering is we get to see orders done in all different languages. Like, you know, customers will say we have Mandarin. We're like, okay, no problem. We just push a button, and all of a sudden, the whole site turns to Mandarin if somebody pushes a button with a Chinese flag or something. And that's really meeting the customer where it is. And I think that's kind of what we've all said here in just a different way, right? You want to be accessible to the client when they want to buy something in the way they want to buy it, And that's the chatbot. That's what we do, and that's what Intouch does. It's a combination of inbound and outbound. But at the end of the day, is we've got to meet the client where they are, and in order to be really successful, we got to do the things that the big guys just can't or won't do because they don't want to or don't have the means to.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better myself. I appreciate that last nugget, and I'm going to kind of wrap us up with the thought that just keep in mind for all of us is that this world has changed forever, and those of us that are so used to our old ways of dialing and smiling are over. And the use of technology, I see Mike Levesque has jumped on from MyZone, and all that has happened with those guys. But between Soolis and Sneeze.It and Intouch, these companies make your job easier. They engage people more, and they're going to drive more sales to your facility as long as you're open to it. So let's embrace this technology sale. You all are still wonderful people. You know what the personality is in our DNA and how important that still is going to be, especially when we get back. I want everyone to stay safe. I want to thank you all for your time. I'm going to ask panelists to stay on. Attendees, we're going to record this, and I want to thank everybody for jumping on. Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Chris. Maria, glad you're here. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Zoe, thanks for coming. Greg, good to have you here. Tim, thanks for coming, bud. Crystal, give Beth my best. Adam, thanks for jumping on. Chris Sandcrank, good to have you here.